Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. For today's class, it's all about back care, relieving and preventing back pain. And to do that, we're going to be working with waist and spine extenders and strengtheners. At the same time, we're also going to be strengthening into the shoulder girdle and the core. As always, I'd like you to play where you're comfortable, modify where you need to, using props where appropriate, and feel comfortable to take a time out in child pose at any time during the class should you need a rest. You ready to play? Let's hit the mat. Assuming this is the front of your mat, you're going to turn away from it and make your way down onto your back, lying comfortably, and beginning with the knees bent and the soles of your feet connected to the mat. Settle the weight of your body into the mat, and then take a big breath in, and on an exhale, hug the knees in towards the chest. As you exhale, allow the knees to softly pull away from the chest, and then on an exhale, pull back in. You're going to give me a couple of gentle knee hugs, at the same time getting a soft rocking motion going in the lower back and squeezing all of that stale air out of the lungs every time you hug those knees in towards your chest. Pavanmuktasana, a nice little cleansing breath at the same time. Maybe giving me a nice little shooting breath through the mouth. Let's do two more. And then as you complete your last squeeze, you're going to give me a T-frame on the arms lying comfortably palm down into the mat, and begin with your legs in a little tabletop line with your knees stacking over your hips. Take a big breath in, and on an exhale, drop both knees just off center to one side as you float your head in the opposite direction. Inhale to come back towards the center line, and exhale, take it to the other side. You're going to give me about 10 repetitions to each side. And with each iteration, you're going to start dropping the knees closer and closer to the floor, increasing that twist, that gentle twist into the spine, so that hopefully on the last iteration, your knees are on the floor or as close to the floor as you can comfortably manage. Inhale every time you draw towards the center line, and exhale as you softly drop the knees over. Keep the belly button softly pulled into the center line, and make sure that you're anchoring through the opposite shoulder every time. So if the knees are dropping in one direction, your shoulder on the opposite side of the body is firmly anchored and planted into the mat. Exhale as you come over. Inhale as you come back. You should be more or less on your 8th iteration now. And when we get to the 10th iteration, I'd like you to hold that twist for me. Coming all the way over, hopefully placing both of your knees on the mat, and then gently pull down on that top knee and try to increase the twist. You could always reach for a block and place the block underneath your knees for a little bit of support if the knees don't quite reach the floor. Inhale to come back towards the center line, and exhale, drop it all the way over on the other side, maybe gently cupping over the top knee to increase the twist just a teeny bit more. Draw softly back towards the midline of the body. Place your hands palms down on both knees and begin tracing a circular pattern in one direction, telling yourself to relax and release the lower back area into the mat. And then change the trace of your circular direction, moving in the opposite direction. Then softly brace your hands against the shins or behind the knees and gently begin cradle rocking side to side. You're going to use that sideways rocking motion to roll yourself over and prop yourself up in a 4-point kneeling position on your mat. When you get to the mat, make sure that you stack yourself up with your hands underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath your hips with a nice straight tabletop line, as if you were trying to balance a teacup in its saucer on your back without spilling any tea. On an exhale, you're going to round out your spine. And then bring it back to a neutral tabletop position. Playing in cat, rounding out, nodding your chin to your chest before coming back to a tabletop line. Exhaling to round out and inhaling to come back to the table. You're going to do one more like this, finding a soft contraction through the core as you round out that spine. Then end in your tabletop line and reverse the position, giving me a concave shape, taking your chin and your bum bones to the ceiling before coming back to your table. Make sure that when you give me that little concave shape, that you're not allowing the tummy to just drop towards the mat. So I want you to keep the belly button softly pulled in towards the center line as you play in your cow. You're going to give me one more like this, and then we're going to marry the two, and we'll work at a 1-to-1 inhalation to exhalation ratio. Exhale to round out in cat. Inhale to come all the way through neutral spine, going straight into your cow, and then rinsing and repeating with fluidity. And give me a 1-to-1 on the inhalation to exhalation ratio. So let's say you're exhaling for a count of 5. Then I'd like you to inhale for a count of 5. So we're keeping the inhalation and the exhalation ratio equal to that. Make sure that you're controlling through the core the whole time that you're playing. You're going to give me one more cycle, and then we'll find our way to Sukhirandasana, thread the needle. Find your way to a neutral tabletop line. Take a big breath in and float the right arm up to the ceiling. On an exhale, thread underneath the left armpit, resting on the side of your head and not leaning all of the weight into the mat. I want you to softly push back and try to stack your hips over your knees with your belly button softly pulled in, and allow the core to hold the majority of your weight. So not leaning everything into the mat. Inhale to come back to your 4-point kneeling position. Float the left arm up to the ceiling. And on an exhale, thread underneath your right armpit, gently coming to rest on the side of your head. Find that stack of your knees and your hips, and make sure that the belly button and the inner thighs are engaged and are holding your body weight. Ease your way back to your first thread, and we'll add to it. Take a big breath in, float the hand up to the ceiling. On the exhale, thread through, either staying here or floating the left arm up to the ceiling, and tucking the hand behind your back, rotating the palm in and reaching for the opposite hip bone so that you can really get a little bit of rotation through the shoulders and gently peek up to the ceiling. Make sure you've got hip over knee. Float softly back to your 4-point kneeling frame. Take a big breath in, float the left arm up to the ceiling, thinking soft T-frame through the arms. On an exhale, tuck underneath, give me a little thread. Once you've connected to the mat, float the right arm up. Tuck the arm behind your back, rotating the palm in and reaching for the opposite hip. Ease your way from here back into a 4-point kneeling frame, and we'll play with a little bit of a sequence. Find a tabletop line on the mat and keep the feet soft and relaxed in parallel behind you as you push back into a modified extended child. Then bend the elbows out to the side of the room and almost drag your nose and your chest along the mat, and then pop forward at the last second and give me a modified up dog with the weight on your knees and the palms of your hands. Ease your way back into a tabletop line. Exhale to sit back in extended child. Bend the elbows out to the side of the room, dragging your weight forward, modified caterpillar, and then find your way up into your modified child, up dog. Make sure you're not collapsing through the chest. So push strongly away, retract those shoulders. Make sure your inner thighs are engaged and your core is engaged. Ease your way back into your tabletop line. Exhale, sit back into child. Bend the elbows out to the side of the room, drag your weight forward. Stealth mode. Find your way into an up dog, nice and strong through the shoulders and the core. One more to go. Ease your way into a tabletop line. Strong through the core, so keep that belly button pulled into center. Exhale to sit back in child. Bend those elbows, drag your weight forward. Find your little caterpillar and morph into an up dog, nice and strong through the shoulders. From here, we're going to kick it back into a traditional child. So as you come through the 4-point kneeling pose, float your big toes together, knees open nice and wide, and find an extended arm line. We're going to thread the needle from here, and then we'll have some fun with it. Take a big breath in, and on an exhale, thread the right arm underneath the left armpit, peeking underneath that arm towards the ceiling. Either stay here or take the front arm, tuck it behind your back, rotating the palm in and reaching for that hip, and then take the right arm and reach for your left shoulder, giving yourself a little hug. You could also place maybe a block underneath your forehead if your head doesn't quite reach the mat. Ease your way back into extended child. Take a nice little stretch here. Inhale to prepare. On the exhale, thread underneath your right armpit, peeking underneath that armpit towards the ceiling. Then float the left arm behind your back, rotating the palm in, reaching for that hip. Take your extended left hand and reach for the right shoulder, hugging in. Ease your way from here back into your extended child line, and then find your way into a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Check that your hands are stacking underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips with a nice strong tabletop line and your belly button firmly pulled in to center. We're going to stretch on the diagonal. Try not to drop your head through the line. So give me a nice long line through the spine and through the back with your gaze down on the mat between your 2 thumb points. Then float the left leg and the right arm into extension. Try not to kick up too high and try not to pop through the shoulders and the hips. So you're trying to give me a long, even line through your hand, your arm, your neck, your back, your leg, and your foot. Peel back towards the mat and rinse and repeat on the other side. Find that length first through the shoulders and the spine, and then begin extending opposite arm and leg, looking for that long, even line, almost trying to tap the wall in front of you and the wall behind you with your fingertips and your toes, respectively. Then ease your way back down into the mat. Find child pose, balasana. This time, as you come into extension, come onto the tips of your fingers so that your hands almost resemble little spiders. Rest your forehead on the mat and creep your hands slightly off-center to the left, stopping when your right arm is flush against the head. Then push into both palms, almost bumping the weight back into your right hip bone. Find your way back to your spider fingers, creep back towards the midline of the body, and then cross over to the right, stopping when your arm is flush against the head on the left. Push into both sets of palms, almost bumping the weight back into your left hip bone. Keep the belly button firmly pulled into center. Ease your way back onto your fingertips. Come into extension with the arms long and lengthened in front of you. Look off the front of the mat and then slide the hands forward, coming into puppy pose, thinking of trying to connect your chin and your chest to the mat while tucking the bum up towards the ceiling with your lower belly as close towards the top of your thighs as you can comfortably manage. So you look like a little puppy taking a stretch. Then gently from here, drag the weight onto the elbows, tuck your toes under and ease your way into an elbow plank. Try not to collapse, so push away with the shoulders, brace your core and engage the front and the back chain of your legs. We're going to come into a side plank variant from here. Rotate the right arm in so that it's parallel to the front of your mat and then flip over onto the right side of your body, stepping up with the top leg, firmly planting it into the mat and not collapsing your frame. So keeping the hips up nice and tall, try to extend through the top arm and think of giving me a long line through the foot that's connected to the mat, up along the chain of the leg through the hip, and then extend that arm and try to tap it to the wall in front of you. Strong on that bottom shoulder, not collapsing through the shoulder, the ribs or the hip on the back bottom side of the body. Ease your way from here back into your elbow plank. Hold that elbow plank and then gently drop down. Allow the hips to connect to the mat and ease your way into Sphinx Pose. Check that you're not collapsing through the shoulders. So you're pushing the forearms and the elbows into the mat, and you're trying to bring your chest away from the mat, giving me a long line from your mid-back towards the nape of your neck and really trying to come out of the shoulder girdle. The legs are soft and relaxed in parallel behind you. We're going to rinse and repeat on the other side. Tuck your toes under, brace your core, so don't collapse your belly area. You're going to push up into that nice, strong parallel line, giving me a strong elbow plank. Core is beautifully engaged. Inner thighs are committed and in on the party as well. Float the left arm in so that it's parallel to the front of your mat. Flip left and then step up the top leg and find a long extended line. Maybe trying to draw a line through your extended arm to that back foot that's connected to the mat, long and lengthened, trying to keep the shoulders and the hips and the ribs nice and high off the mat. Then gently find your way back onto the elbows. Find your elbow plank line first. Once you've found it and you're sure that the core is engaged and that your inner thighs are switched on, drop down with care. Push softly down through the forearms and the elbows. Try to bring your chest further away from the mat. And then from here, we're going to come into a little Superman stretch. So you're going to extend the arms on the mat in front of you, palms facing down into the mat, and tuck your forehead to the mat. Pretend that you've got a little marble underneath your nose. Roll the marble away from you to the front of the mat and gently start peeling the arms and the legs just an inch or two off the mat, giving me a long Superman line with the head tucked between the two arms and your face looking straight down to the mat with your nose hovering an inch or two off the mat. Extend through the fingertips and the toes, trying to tap the wall in front of you and the wall behind you. Then gently peel back down, whisper softly to the mat, not making a sound as you reconnect that marble underneath your nose. Keep your legs in a soft parallel line and the arms in a soft parallel line, palms down into the mat. We're going to work a modified Cobra line. Find that little marble underneath your nose. Gently begin rolling it away from you to the front of the mat and start peeling up really slowly through the ribs. One rib at a time, looking off the front of your mat and stopping in a baby Cobra line just before your bottom rib disconnects from the mat. Keep your right palm planted into the mat and raise your left arm up till it's almost in line with your shoulder. Then arc or sweep the arm alongside the body as if you were tapping towards the back end of the mat, following with your head, and then coming back to your start position. You're going to do that 4 more times, giving me a big sweeping or arcing motion with the arm, planting softly down on your supportive palm and floating on the left. Make sure that the head is tracking that arm movement. Let's do 1 more. Exhale as you bring it back. Inhale as you come back to your start position. Float back down to the mat. Retuck that marble underneath your nose. And as you reconnect to the mat, bend the elbows and slide the palms alongside your body line with the elbows tucked in, fingertips just in front of your shoulder line. We're going to come up into a Cobra. Find that little marble underneath your nose, begin rolling it away. And depending on how your back is feeling, you're either going to stop in a baby Cobra line with the bottom rib still connected to the mat, or you can come up halfway, giving me a somewhat extension through the arm, or coming all the way up. But wherever you're playing, don't collapse through the shoulders. Draw the shoulders away from your ears and extend through the waist and the spine. Softly reconnect to the mat, whisper softly, and as soon as you've retucked that marble underneath your nose, extend the arms softly on the mat in front of you, palms facing down. Take a recovery breath or 2. We're going to play with that little arm sweep on the right. Find the marble underneath your nose, roll it away from you, start peeling up through your Cobra line, find your baby Cobra line. Bottom rib still connected to the mat, looking off the front of the mat to the wall ahead of you. Raise your right arm up so that it's more or less in line with your shoulders. Give me a big sweeping, arcing motion, reaching for the back of your mat, and then coming back to your start position. You're keeping the right arm hovering off the mat, and the left palm is softly pressing palm down into the mat, giving you a little bit of stability. Make sure that you keep extending out through the waist and the spine. Hip bones gently digging into the mat. Find your way back into your extended line. As soon as you retuck that marble underneath your nose, then the elbows, slide the palms alongside your body. Keep the elbows tucked in. We're coming back into our full Cobra Bhujangasana. Play small or take it all the way. Roll that marble away from you. Start peeling up through the mat. Stopping in baby, coming up midway, or coming up into a full extension if you prefer. Then gently peel back down to the mat. As you reconnect to the mat, you're going to sweep the arms behind you. Back of the hands connected to the mat and the palms looking up. We're going to break down a locust and then we'll play with it. At first, keep your head and your hands on the mat and focus on the legs. Draw up from the kneecaps along your quad and along the hamstring to lift, hold, and hover the legs an inch or two off the mat. Don't kick up too high. I don't want to feel any loading in the lower back. Just extend through the legs, almost as if you were trying to come out through the hip sockets and tap the wall behind you. Then whisper softly without a sound. Allow the legs to reconnect softly to the mat. Keep your feet and your hands on the mat and focus on your head. Find that imaginary marble underneath your nose. Roll the marble away from you to the front of the mat and begin peeling up through the ribs, stopping when you hit your baby cobra line with the bottom ribs still connected. Then make your palms or the back of your hands heavy into the mat and reach with your fingertips for the two edges of the mat, trying to drop your shoulders away from your ears and try to grow as much as you can from the mid-back towards the nape of your neck, not throwing the head back, giving me a long line through the spine and softly looking down towards the top end of your mat. Then retuck that marble underneath your nose and come down with control, one rib at a time, one vertebra at a time, retucking that marble underneath your nose. For the next round, keep your head and your feet on your mat and focus on the arms. Softly float the arms up like little feathers towards the ceiling. And then reach with your fingertips for the two edges of the mat, trying to drop the shoulders away from your ears and trying to grow and extend as much as you can through the arms. Then whisper softly, float the arms back down without a sound, reconnecting to the mat. Take a recovery breath or two, and then simultaneously execute all three movements and hold for the full locust. Find that little marble underneath your nose, begin rolling it away at the same time. Float the arms and the legs off the mat and giving me a soft, hollow frame in the body, trying to extend through the fingertips, the toes, and the crown of your head, keeping your gaze just off the front of the floor. Either staying here or playing with a little bind by floating both hands behind your back. Make a little fist. Try and reach with that fist through your bum cheeks to tap the wall behind you. Either staying here or morphing into one more progression, giving me a modified bow. Bend the knees, reach from the inside today. See if you can reach for the inner arch of your foot. Don't hug the feet in towards your bum. Think of floating the toes up to the ceiling, giving me a somewhat more hollowed out frame through the back, and maybe gently rocking back and forth between your hip bones and your belly button, or finding a holding frame that works for you. Keep piking those toes up towards the ceiling and try to increase the distance between your feet and your bum. Then softly find your way back into your gentle locust line. Float softly back down to the mat. As you reconnect to the mat, bend the arms, place the palms alongside your bosom and push right back into an extended child. Keep the feet soft and relaxed and parallel behind you, and just take a little stretch here, almost creeping your hands back towards your knee line and making your bum as heavy as you can towards your heels. Then we'll play with a little flow. Come back to a tabletop line on the mat. From your tabletop line, round out in cat. Ease your way back to table. Find your cow. Come back to table. Bend through the elbows halfway, sliding forward and coming into your modified up dog. Ease your way back into child, pushing back. Heels and bum trying to touch. Find your way into table, round out in cat, find your table, ease into cow, find your table. Small little bend through the elbows, almost drawing yourself off the front of your mat, not coming too low to the floor and giving me a kneeling up dog. Let's do 2 more. Exhale and sit back, trying to connect your bum and your heels. Ease your way back to a 4-point kneeling frame. Find a table. Exhale to round out. Nice contraction through the core. Ease your way back to neutral. Find your cow. Come back to table. Softly bend through the elbows. Scoop forward. Find your kneeling up dog. Nice and strong through the shoulders. Nice and strong through the core. Last one. Push back in child. Keep that belly button softly sucked in towards the center line as you're playing. Ease your way into table. Exhale to round up. Ease your way back into table. Find your cow. Come back to table. Swoop or scoop. Find your way into your kneeling up dog. And then ease your way back into one last child. From here, we're going to find our way into the seated frame, and you can either step or hop it up. Maybe coming into a 4-point kneeling frame, tucking the toes under, think relaxed dog, almost bumping the weight back into your heels as you hover the knees off the floor, and then hopping forward, crossing the feet underneath you, and ending in Sukhirandasana, easy sit. Let's change it up. So let's all lead with the right leg in front. You're sitting up nice and tall, bum bones equally weighted into the mat, shoulders stacked over your hips. You're going to take a big breath in and float your hands overhead. On an exhale, you're gently going to fold forward to try to connect your fingertips, your palms, or your forearms to the mat as you softly fold forward. If the floor is not accessible for you, maybe reaching for a block, playing with the dimensions of the block and finding a comfortable lean-in stack position that you can hold for at least 15 seconds, trying to just release into that forward fold. Try to hinge from the waist and make the forearms and the crown heavy to the mat. Then gently, gently peel up along the center way. Stack your shoulders over your hips and lengthen through your spine. Take a big inhale to prepare. And on the exhale, twist to the left. Opposite hand to knee. Push that knee away. Place the other hand on the floor behind you, but don't lock out the shoulder and the elbow. Keep them soft and almost give me little spider fingers on the mat, making sure that your bum bones are equally weighted into the mat. Inhale and come back towards the center line. Exhale, take the twist in the opposite direction. Looking for those bum bones equally grounded. Keep pushing opposite hand to knee, opening up softly through the groin area. Belly button firmly pulled into the center line. Inhale, come back to the middle. Take a big breath in, float your hands overhead. On the exhale, fold forward to connect your fingertips or your palms or your forearms, or using your block modification, making your crown and your forehead really heavy to the floor, almost as if there was a little magnet pulling it down, and trying to make your chest heavy to the mat. Keep the belly button softly pulled in towards the center line. You're going to chill here for about 5 more comfortable breaths, and then we'll find our way into a butterfly line, Baddha Konasana. As you peel up along the center line, float the soles of both feet together and try to wrap your hands underneath the feet, maybe overlaying one palm on top of the other. Tuck the feet in as close to the perineum as you can, and use the weight of the feet to draw your arms down, getting a nice little release through the shoulders. Awesome stretch. Try to make your knees as heavy to the floor as you can, and keep hugging those heels in as close to your perineum as you can. From here, you're going to tuck into easy sit again, and this time you're going to lead with the left leg in front. So tuck the right foot in first as close to your perineum as you can, and stack the left in front. Take a big breath in. On the exhale, fold forward, trying to connect fingertips, palms, or forearms to the mat. Every time you come into the forward fold, try to make the floor your friend and come closer and closer. Relax on the exhale. Try not to fight the stretch. Keep the belly button softly pulled into center. Inhale to peel up along the center line. Take a big breath in, twisting softly in one direction, opposite hand to knee. Make sure that you're giving me beautiful length through the spine and that your bum bones are equally weighted into the mat. Inhale and come back towards the center line. Exhale, take the twist in the opposite direction. One last forward fold, big breath in. On the exhale, fold forward, make your head heavy to the mat, drop down as low as you can, keep that belly button firmly pulled in. And if you manage to connect the forearms to the mat, I want you to push or bump the weight back into your bum bone so that you can really feel the activation on the outside of the lead leg. Inhale and peel up along the center line, finding your way back into butterfly. Finding the bind underneath your feet, tucking the heels in as close to the perineum as you can, dropping the shoulders away from your ears, tucking the heels in as close to the perineum as you can, and dropping those knees down as close to the floor as you can comfortably manage. Remember, our range of motion is different day to day. Some days those knees will want to reach the floor. Some days they'll feel like they're wrapping up alongside your ears. So just play with what the body's giving you today. From here, you're going to tuck back into easy sit, or you're going to come into a half lotus line on the first side. Tuck the left heel in as close to the perineum as you can. Take the right foot and try to bring the right heel as close to the inside of the right hip bone as you can, comfortably resting that foot on the top of the left thigh. If you need to, you could even take a block and tuck it underneath the knee line on the right if you need a little bit of an assist on the mat. Tuck into your half lotus line, take a big breath in, and on the exhale, fold forward. As you fold forward, try to get a sense of what you're doing with your bottom. There's going to be a tendency for you to want to lean everything into the one bum cheek. I want you to try to keep both bum cheeks evenly weighted into the mat as you hold the half lotus line the whole time. So keep grounding that floating bum cheek. Keep softly pushing it back down onto the mat. Inhale, peel up along the center line, and exhale, softly twist to the right. Opposite hand to knee. Push that knee away. Try to open up softly through the groin and ground that floating bum bone on the right. Inhale, come back towards the center line, and on an exhale, softly twist in the opposite direction. Push opposite hand to knee, trying to make both knees heavy to the mat, and keep grounding that floating bum bone on the right. One more forward fold. On the exhale, fold it forward. And if you're coming nice and low to the mat, you might be getting a nice little massage with that heel on the left side of your colon, getting your peristalsis going for the day. Inhale, peel back up along the center line. Take your middle index finger and thumb and see if you can give me a little toe lock around the big toe on each foot, tipping the weight off your tailbone and coming into a floating butterfly line. Either just holding here and tucking those feet in as close to your perineum as you can, finding a nice strong contraction through the inner thighs and the core, or float both legs out and see if you can come into a nice V shape, keeping that big toe lock. If you've got the range of motion, you can even play with it and bring the legs in for a beat or two, maybe holding for 5 seconds before gently opening back out into your V. Play with it. If this is not working for you, just hold that floating butterfly line. All right. From your V position, you're going to tuck back into half lotus, this time leading with the left leg on top. So tuck the right foot in first. Take that left heel, tuck it in as close to the inside of the right hip bone as you can. Wiggle around. Make sure that you're grounding that left bum bone into the mat. Take a big breath in, and on the exhale, fold forward, using the block modification if you need to. As you ease your way down onto the mat, think belly to spine. Feel that nice little massage of the lower belly area, taking care of the lower viscera for you. Then gently peel up along the center line. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, twist opposite hand to knee. Push away, open up. Keep the belly button firmly pulled into center. Inhale, come back to the center line. Exhale, take the twist softly in the opposite direction. Inhale, peel back towards the center line and give me one last forward fold. Trying to come as low to the mat as you can as you fold forward for the last time. Make sure that both bum bones are still connected to the mat and that you're not favoring one side. Gently peel up along the center line. Find your big toe lock on each side. Tip the weight off your tailbone, almost as if you were setting up a modified boat line with a butterfly leg position. Once you've found your inner thigh connection and your abdominal connection, see if you can float both legs out and give me a beautiful V shape. Maybe playing with the leg line and bringing the feet in, really trying to get those kinks on the back chain of your leg ironed out. Opening back out into V. And then keeping the toe lock if you can, or letting go of the feet if you need to. You're going to bend the left leg, place the sole of the foot on the inseam of the right leg as you extend the right leg out in front. Then maybe keeping the toe lock as you fold forward, or maybe if you need to float both hands overhead and then try to grasp around the foot. If the foot is not accessible, maybe using a strap or a hand towel or a belt around the foot. You could even maybe use your block, tucking it behind your foot and hugging the foot in towards your chest. Or if you need to, play with the block on the inside of your leg, finding a comfortable prop position that you can lean into. Play with it. See what's happening and what's working for you today. Untitled, think head to knee as you fold forward. Try not to wrestle your body. Try to relax and release into the stretch. We're going to hold for about 5 more gentle breaths, and then we'll bring it into a soft little mariachi twist. Peel softly up along the center line. Keep your right leg long and extended and bring the left knee up towards the ceiling, dropping the sole of the foot on the inside of the right leg. Twist to the left, cupping opposite elbow to knee. Hug that knee in towards your chest and prop the other arm on the floor behind you. Keep hugging that knee in towards your chest. Try to even out the weight distribution on your bum and brace into the foot of your supported leg as you give me as much length through the spine as you can comfortably manage. You're going to give me about 5 more gentle breaths here, and then we'll come into an intense forward fold, Paschimottanasana, trying to extend both legs in front. Pivot to face the front of the mat. Brace your heel, your left leg into the mat, trying to extend and maybe wrap around and hold onto your feet. Use your belt or your strap if you need to, or take the block, placing it between your 2 legs and finding a comfortable lean-in position that works for you. Trying to fold forward, making the chest heavy to the top of your thighs, trying to relax and release through the sacrum area. Peel softly up along the midline of the body. Bend the right leg, place the sole of the foot on the inseam of the left leg. Take a big breath in, hinge forward, thinking head to knee, Untitled as you fold forward. Use your strap, use your block, modify where you need to. Try and relax and release into the stretch. Then peel softly up along the center line. Keep your left leg long and extended. Draw the right knee up towards the ceiling and place the sole of the foot on the inside of the left leg. Pivot towards the right, opposite elbow to knee. Hug that knee in towards your chest, finding a soft fingertip position on the mat behind you and keeping the shoulder and the elbow on the back arm soft. Don't lock out the joints. Keep your spine as long and lengthened as you can, bum bones equally weighted, and keep pushing into the heel of your extended leg. Then gently pivot to face the front of your mat. Drag, brace into that heel of your right foot. See if you can fold forward to maybe wrap around your feet. Coming into Paschimottanasana, using your strap if you need to. Taking the block if you need to and finding a lean-in position. Play with it. See what's working for you today. From here, we're going to find our way onto the back, and we'll play with a little supine, some supine poses before we come back to standing. You're going to peel up along the center line, and you're going to give me one controlled roll down to come into a happy baby. If you're on the tall side, position yourself towards the top end of your mat so that you've got enough room to play behind you. Open up your feet about hip-width distance apart and float the arms out in front. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on your exhale, nod your chin to your chest and start rounding out through your spine, rolling down one vertebra at a time. As soon as you feel your lower back connect to the mat, bend the knees and float your feet up towards the ceiling, coming straight into happy baby. And today, I'd like you to try to take your middle index finger and thumb and give me a big toe lock around each foot. Make the knees heavy towards the chest, and then allow them to splay around your chest, gravitating towards the armpit. If your tailbone is rolled up off the mat, try to rock the weight back into your tailbone and try to relax your lower back into the mat. If holding onto the big toes is not an option, maybe reaching for the balls of your feet and just softly tugging down. Or you could bind behind your thighs and hug the thighs in towards your chest. Play where you're comfortable. Ananda Balasana, happy baby. Alrighty, then trying to keep the bind on your right foot, drop the sole of the left foot to the floor. T-shape your supportive arm, and if you need to, you could use a strap around the foot. Try to fully extend the leg. No bend in the knee, so I want you to try and extend, maybe using a hand towel or a strap if you need it to bring that leg into full extension. If you can, extend your supported leg and give me a nice long line, and then just chill here for a couple of breaths, trying to relax both shoulder blades and make them heavy into the mat, bracing softly into your supported leg. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana A, supine hand to big toe A. When you're ready, take a big breath in. We're going to open up into the B position. On an exhale, drop the leg out to the side as you rotate the head in the opposite direction. Opening up as far as you can, not worrying about how close that leg is coming to the floor, but rather focusing on what's happening on the anchoring side of your body. So on the left side of your body, keep the shoulder and the bum connected to the mat. Ease your way back into happy baby from here, bending the knees on both sides, trying to keep the toe lock or the lock on the ball of your feet. Nod your chin to your chest, relax your shoulders into the mat. Try not to arc and throw your head back. Relax the whole weight of your back into the mat. Then try to keep the toe lock or the foot lock on the left and drop the sole of the right foot to the floor. T-shape your right arm. And when you're ready, begin extending the left leg using a strap or a belt or a hand towel if you need to be able to extend that leg. Then give me a long extended line on the right leg if you can, bracing into that foot. Hold here for a couple of breaths, really trying to iron out any kinks along the back chain of that left leg. Take a big breath in to prepare, and when you're ready, start opening up the leg to the right as you float your head in the opposite direction. Not worrying about how close that leg is coming to the floor, but rather trying to keep yourself anchored on the opposite side of the body. So the right shoulder and the right bum firmly connected to the mat. Stay here for about 5 more breaths, then we'll come back into happy baby and we'll change up the hand line. Ease your way back to the center line, bend the knees, and this time try to grab from the arch of your foot. Once you've made that connection, make your tailbone heavy into the mat, nod your chin to your chest, and maybe gently rock side to side. Easing out any kinks that you might be feeling in the lower back. We're going to come to a little eagle bind from here. Think of drawing your legs into a tabletop frame. You can either T-shape your arms or give me a goalpost frame on the mat, whichever feels more comfortable for you. You're going to cross the right leg over the left as if you were sitting cross-legged on the couch, either staying here or taking the toes of your right foot and trying to tuck them behind the calf of your left foot, coming into a full eagle bind on the legs. Take a big breath in, and we'll play with this twist so you can see where your body might want to go to today. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, begin dropping both knees all the way over to the left, as close to the floor as you can, while you gently float and rotate your head in the opposite direction. Coming as low to the floor as you can. You can even place a block underneath the knees if you need to. And then maybe staying here in the bind, or you can play it up today. Maybe uncrossing your legs, bending both knees, stacking one knee on top of each other, and just dropping as close to the floor as you can, or coming into a modification of corkscrew by bracing and kicking into both feet and then reaching with your left fingertips for the undercarriage of the balls of both feet and tugging the feet in towards your chest line. Try to keep yourself anchored on the supportive side so that right shoulder is going to want to keep floating up off the mat. You've got to try to keep softly grounding your shoulder back into the mat. Then softly bend the knees, float back towards the center line. Maybe gently cradle rock your lower back out for a second. You're going to come back into that happy baby bind, and you're going to find the bind on the inside. Reach the arch of your foot on both sides, tug down. Maybe gently rocking side to side. Give your lower back a little bit more of a release. Try to keep your chin line nice and soft. Try not to arch through the neck. You ready to play? Let's do it. All right. T-frame your arms or find a little goalpost frame. Cross the left leg over the right, keeping your bind loose goose, or tuck the toes behind the calf and find your full eagle bind. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, drop your knees both to the right as you look to the left. Try to keep anchoring through the left shoulder. Dropping down as low to the floor as you can. Maybe staying here for a beat or two. And then maybe electing to play it up a little bit, uncrossing your legs, stacking one knee on top of the other, dropping both legs to the floor, or extending both legs, reaching for the balls of your feet with your right hand, tugging them in towards your chest line while keeping that supporting shoulder, the left shoulder, nice and heavy into the mat. Inhale, peel back towards the center line, maybe gently cradle rocking your lower back out, bracing the shins softly with your hands. One last iteration. Find your way back into happy baby, and this time try to reach from the outer quadrant of your foot and tug down. Making the knees heavy into your armpits, relax that lower back into the mat. We're going to bring it into a little cow face bind from here. Little Gamukasana bind. All right, cross the right leg over the left as if you were sitting cross-legged on your couch. Then give me a small scoop up to peel up off your shoulders. Reach with your fingertips for the toes of each foot and try to hug the feet in towards your hip line as you softly nod your chin to your chest and try to weight both shoulders into the mat. Either just stay here, hugging both feet in towards your hips, or to play, you're going to start gently rocking off center to the left. As you come off the center line, you're going to take the top leg, kick it away from you, and drop the bottom knee and foot to the mat, trying to hug that foot in towards your bum line as you make the back shoulder heavy to the mat and look off the back shoulder to the wall to the side. Keep hugging that extended foot in towards your shoulder line. Then softly come back towards the center line. Maybe place your hands palms down on the knees and trace a couple of circular patterns in one direction to relax and release your lower back. Then change, move in the opposite direction. Find your way into happy baby one last time, taking the bind from the outside. Really tug down. The groin should be a lot warmer now, so you should be a lot more released. Those knees should want to gravitate right down towards the floor. Maybe gently rocking if you need it. You ready to play? All right. Cross the left leg over the right. Scoop to peel up. Reach for the top of each foot. Once you've got a firm grasp, nod your chin to your chest and peel back down to the mat. Keep hugging the feet in towards your hip line, holding your stretch here. Or play with it by rocking off the center line to the right, extending the top leg away, dropping the bottom foot and knee to the mat, kicking or bracing into the ball of your extended leg and trying to drop your anchoring shoulder to the mat. Your head is moving in the opposite direction to that extended top leg. Alrighty. Ease your way from here back towards the center line. Maybe placing your hands, palms down on the knees, tracing a couple of circles in one direction, telling yourself to relax and release through the sacrum, and then change it up, move in the opposite direction. Alrighty, we're going to use just a couple of small spinal roll modifications to come to a standing position. Softly brace against your shins or behind the thighs and rock up into a soft seated pose at the more or less in the middle of the mat. Then nod your chin to your chest, round out through the spine, rock back as far as your shoulder blades and back up. Whisper softly, connecting your feet to the mat. You're going to do that about 5 times. Finding a little bit of a soft inner thigh connection and a core contraction as you round out and C-curve through the spine, rocking back as far as your shoulder blades and back up. You're going to give me 2 more, and then you're going to use momentum on the last one to come to a standing pose. So as you rock back on the last one, brace your hands, palms down into the mat, pushing up onto the haunches, dropping your head to the mat, bending your elbows, holding on to the forearms or the elbows and dropping your head and your elbows as heavy as you can to the mat, trying to extend up the back chain of the legs while keeping the weight bearing equal on the balls and the heels of your feet. Then soften through the knees, ragdoll roll up, place both sets of hands in your lower back for support, fingertips looking up to the ceiling, and take a gentle supported back bend. You're going to play between those 2 frames. Exhale to fold forward, finding a forearm grasp. Make your head heavy to the floor. Make your elbows heavy to the floor. Maybe gently rocking if you need to. If the back chain of the legs is really tight, maybe you need to bend and extend. Experiment a little bit, but really try to open up all those tight kinks along the back chain of the legs. Softly ragdoll roll up. Find your supported back bend. Think of squeezing the 2 shoulder blades together and behind your back and expand laterally through the chest, getting a nice little stretch into the lower belly area, supporting the lower back. Exhale to fold forward. Gently ragdoll roll up. As you come into the big back bend, give me a beautiful big inhale and try to fill up your lungs to max capacity. Exhale to fold forward. Last one. Really try to make the head, the crown, the elbows as heavy as you can, giving the head a beautiful inversion. And then soften through the knees, ragdoll roll up. As you come to about a tabletop position, heel toe your feet in, connecting your big toes and your ankles, and come to a narrow mountain. Bring your hands to prayer in front of your heart. Drop your elbows towards the floor and take your focus in. Try to think of stacking your shoulders over your hips over your knees over your ankles. Root softly through the feet. Feel that energy running up along your inner thighs, up from your pubis towards your sternum and exiting through the crown of your head. Namaste. to you all. Thank you so much for coming out and playing with me today. I really hope that you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Remember to shoot me your comments and your feedbacks in the box below your YouTube display window, and to subscribe with your notification bell on. I shall see you all for playtime on the mat on Monday. Have an amazing weekend. Till then, keep it light.